Welcome to Parashat Vayikra. Hey, look at the A. It's too small. You should make it the same size as the other letters. Looking a professional here. Well, no, you see, this is how it's written in the Torah. This letter is called an Aleph, and it is much smaller than the other letters. It's this way to teach us about humility. Oh, okay. Okay, let's try that again. Ready for take two?
Yeah, ready for take two.
Okay, let's go. Welcome to Parashat Vayikra. In the last parasha, we saw how the people made the Mishkan, the temple, the tent of the meeting. The people knew that God was there because there was a cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night. Now that it is completely built, God calls to Moses inside this tent of the meeting.
Moses, speak to the Israelites and tell them that they are to bring an offering, a korban, sacrifices to me. They can bring cattle or ox. If they can't afford a big animal, that's okay. They can bring a bird. If that is too much, it's also okay. They can bring grain, bread, matzah, crackers, or wheat, or fruit. Yes, even fruit would be good. Nobody will be left out because they can't afford an offering.
So, way back then, people made sacrifices to God.
But Abba, why would God want us to bring a sheep or a cow, fruit or bread? Does God eat?
No, I don't think God eats. But when people make a gift to someone, they do feel close to that person.
So maybe God just wanted people to feel closer.
Like when I bring you a flower that was growing in the park, that makes you happy, right? And it buys me brownie points.
Well, of course it does. Except that flower doesn't really belong to you, does it?
Yeah, you're right. How about if I were to bring you the first tomato on the plant that I am growing? After all the work you're putting into it, you planted the seed, you're watering it every day, pulling the weeds.
But that's what would really make it special and meaningful to him if he were to give you that first tomato, right? Yes, exactly. Now you understand. And I would be so grateful to have that tomato.
Yeah, I guess I get it. Okay, fine. I'll give you my first tomato. And God went on to explain all of the details of how these sacrifices or offerings would be made.
Put a fire on the altar. Lay the animal offering on the wood, and it will turn into smoke. If it is a bird, cast it into the place of ashes. Pour oil onto it for smoke and a pleasing odor. If you offer some grain, put it in a pan.
A pleasing odor? Is God able to smell?
I don't think that what is pleasing to God is the smell, but the fact that the Israelites are doing what he asks them to do.
So God doesn't need the animals or the grain or the smell? He doesn't need the offerings? The sacrifices?
No, the people need them to feel closer to God.
So how come we don't have sacrifices anymore?
Back then, as you know, the people built the Mishkan, the temple in the desert. As we just learned, God told Moses how to make the sacrifices in this temple.
This is how religious services were performed back then.
They traveled for 40 years with this Mishkan before reaching the promised land.
Then they built a temple in Jerusalem and they made the sacrifices there.
But this temple was destroyed over 2,000 years ago, and this is when all of the sacrifices were stopped. Today, instead of sacrifices, we have services in our synagogues. Oh! So we pray instead of making sacrifices.
Pray, really? The idea of praying is confusing to me. Yes, I get it. But that's why we have rabbis and synagogues and Hebrew school and teachers. They help you learn how to pray. But I don't know how to pray in Hebrew.
That's okay. You just talk to God like you talk to us. And then you can ask God for help or forgiveness.
But back then, they would give a sacrifice like a cow or an ox?
Or their first tomato. If they did something bad, they would make an offering and be forgiven. And now we can pray instead.
Does that mean that if I do something bad, I can just ask God to forgive me? I don't know. That's kind of hard for me. Can I just give God my tomato?
Well, we aren't making sacrifices like that anymore. Instead, we talk to God. But remember, that's not enough. We must be nice, generous, and perform acts of loving kindness.
And study Torah.
Or watch a cartoon.
Learn, and this will bring you closer to God.